You are listening to Feed the Beast, a weekly podcast exploring all things food with business partners, spouses, and your hosts, Chef Chris Paul and nutritionist Leigh-Ann Charles Paul of Everything We Eat. I hope you're hungry, because it's time to feed
your inner beast.
Welcome back to Feed the Beast. I'm Leigh-Ann Charles Paul.
I'm Chris Paul.
This week on the show, we have Tyler Wiest from Ontray, an online food ordering platform that basically meshes GrubHub, Eat24, all those together. So really important for restaurants looking to do food delivery. Before we get started, got a couple food news. Chris, what do you have today?
Carson Wentz just announced that he's launching a truck called Kingdom Crumb, launching this fall. He plans on just giving out free food to people in need. One thing where they're popping up might be Lincoln Financial Field and just sort of in around city, as well as Cherry Hill. They should be up in a couple months. As you know, Carson Wentz, a devoted Christian, he's been doing a lot of great things. He was recently actually in Haiti where he opened a sport complex, which is, as you know, I'm from Haiti. And he's really done a great job where he's just really, it's set up as a nonprofit. There's not much detail to what kind of food they will be serving, but I'm guessing it's going to be good since it's a well-funded project. So we look forward to that in the near future.
That's really awesome. I can't believe it's called Kingdom Crumb, right?
Yeah, cool name.
Yeah, it is a really cool name. This week's highlight for Food Entrepreneur, we've got Barbara Devan. She's a really cool concept. She's actually had this place open for a while at Tasties. She's done various ventures with it. It's a soul food restaurant. She's had a food truck. She's moved some stuff over to Jolly's Wiest in 30th and Lancaster. And they've also had something in Germantown and even 52nd and Girard. And now the 52nd and Girard location is expanding to an upscale dining restaurant where they're doing 2 stories. The top floor is going to be a lounge, 1212 lounge, and the bottom floor is the restaurant. I'm really excited to see what she's going to do in that area, We live in West Philly. There's not a lot of fine dining restaurants up there. I mean, there's Marigold on, 46th?
Yeah, 45th and around Larchwood.
Larchmont, yeah. Larchwood, yeah, you're right, yeah. So it's exciting to see what we do. Bring up West Philly on the map with upscale dining. Let's get started with our interview. This interview is recorded separately.
This week we have Tyler Wiest with us from Ontray, and he's going to tell us a bit more about himself and as well as what he's working on and how they're really looking to shake up the industry, especially when you're dealing with delivery and restaurants and everything around that. So Tyler, tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. I come from Cleveland originally, so grew up there and went to school at Boston University. Graduated in 2013, I think, so not too long ago. I grew up kind of just doing a bunch of jobs. I think since I was 12 or 13, I always had at least 2 jobs that I was doing at once. So kind of one thing led to another. And when I was 14 or 15, I actually opened a store selling dog cages on the internet.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was totally random. I found a company that would drop ship my products, which just means I send them product that I've already sold and they ship it out to my customer. So I never actually have to deal with the products.
Oh, awesome. That's almost like Amazon fulfillment, like a decade or so ago.
Yeah, exactly. So then I had to teach myself how to code, and I got a store up. I had a blog, and kind of that was my intro into the whole internet space. Because I'm self-taught with all I do. I'm technically a developer, and then I went to school for entrepreneurship and kind of use those 2 skills together to really jumpstart Ontray.
Oh, that's awesome. Coding is essentially what I've taken away from it is it's like another language, right? So once you understand that language, you could sort of communicate with devices essentially, right? Or just the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite literally dozens of languages. Once you kind of understand the general theory behind it, you can switch between all the different languages because, Apple, Android, and the web all use different underlying technologies to kind of get it all done. But as soon as you understand that theory, you can jump between stuff pretty quickly.
So what got you interested into Ontray, and can you tell us a little bit more about what it is exactly?
So at Ontray, we're all about bringing back the power of online ordering to the restaurant industry. We've seen these big guys like GrubHub and Caviar come in and really change the industry over the last, decade or so. 10 years ago, you wouldn't think about ordering food online the same way you do it today. While this has been great, it's totally revolutionized the industry. They really left it up to the restaurants to foot the bill. Restaurants are paying anywhere from 10 to 30% on ticket sales just to process orders online. And then they're, one of literally tens of thousands of restaurants on these big platforms. So they don't really have an opportunity to distinguish themselves beyond just their logo or really connect with their customers. So this really hit home when we were doing Code for Philly events, which is a local Philadelphia meetup. We were ordering from the same pizza place, I think, week after week. And eventually the owner came to us directly and just said, hey, can you order over the phone next time? I'm getting killed by these fees. And that was kind of the perfect situation where, we were customers of his. There's no reason that he should be, pushing his customers to these big providers that take all these fees when the only value they're really providing is facilitating that online ordering. Actually, that was Trios on Girard, and they ended up becoming our first client.
Oh, awesome. We experienced that a little bit. We had a concept a couple years ago called Urban Quality Eats in U City, and we started off, at one point, we literally had 5 tablets lined up. We had our GrubHub, we had like Caviar, we had Uber Eats, and essentially, for better or worse, Caviar on the customer end was very, very good, very well organized. And then, GrubHub is sort of like this bidding system. I don't know if you're familiar, is the more you pay is the higher you're posted on their site. So when you're talking 30% margin just to process an order in the food industry and your food costs, God forbid if it is 30%, which is decent, 25, you have your labor costs, you're really just giving out food essentially when you're dealing with some of those companies. And I guess the marketing is good, but like you said, with the Trios, it's if you kept ordering off of it, there's really no value. You would want it to be sort of a one-time retention. And then, maybe that person comes directly to your app or to your website and you kind of bypass these services.
Exactly. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And that's where that's why our fees are able to be so low. So we only charge 5%, and we pass that either off to the customer in the form of a convenience fee, or the restaurant can choose to absorb that cost.
Oh, that's cool.
So if they push it off to the customer, all they're paying is, credit card processing fees. So it goes from 30% to 2 or 3%.
How are you able to spearhead it in that way? I guess you're coding yourself, obviously, so your overhead might be a little bit lower, or how are you going about creating a revenue stream? Yeah,
so we just take transactional fees. So we have, we require no money down. It's free to get started. It's free to maintain. And we've intentionally had this pricing structure in place so that our incentives are really in line with our restaurants. We really like to think of our restaurants as our partners, and we're doing all the research and figuring out, how can we best serve them. It's a really easy pitch for a restaurant. It's just give us your menu and you'll be up and running. And then all the marketing is driven right through Google business listings and through other places, customers are already searching for those restaurants. So if you go and you look if you know that you love Rustica Pizza and you just type in Rustica into Google, their website, rusticaphilly.com, is going to show up, in the Google business listing, in the organic listing, and really wherever else Rustica is visible. Yeah, it really allows them to convert those marketplace users to their own users.
Yeah, and I guess so you're dealing with restaurants that I know sometimes people have their own online system and then they still utilize, something like GrubHub or Caviar. And then you're saying, I guess, if someone just has a landing page, you'll still be able to drive that traffic from is it sort of like an icon, or maybe it's like a clickable tab?
We are actually their full website, or we can be.
Oh, cool.
Rusticaphilly.com, I bet a lot of your listeners have used Ontray sites without even knowing it. So at the bottom, we have a little powered by Ontray link.
Okay.
But yeah, we never actually encourage our restaurants to jump off those big marketplace providers, because what they're really bringing to the table at this point is not really online ordering, but the marketing that goes behind it. They're really good at driving traffic because they have a huge user base. But like we were saying before, there's no sense in sending all your customers there simply because you can't do online ordering yourself.
Yes, that's true. I guess, similar to Chow Now, I think they did our app at one point. Do you guys deal with any of that at all, like mobile ordering?
We don't build apps for individual restaurants. We find that the overhead and the value for that isn't really worth it for us right now. But all of our websites are all mobile friendly. So I think we do 70 or 80% of our orders on mobile phones. So you would just pull them up in your web browser through Google like normal, and you'd be able to find us.
Oh, okay, cool. What sort of, right now you're in Philadelphia, obviously. Are you in any other markets, or are you trying to expand?
Yeah, actually. So we've released a second product in December of last year that was actually targeted at restaurant delivery services. So companies essentially like GrubHub that also provide the delivery. So since then, we're now in 5 countries. I think we're launching in Australia today.
Oh, wow.
And we're out in Southeast Asia and Mexico and Canada. Because what we found is that, we had this infrastructure in place for individual restaurants. But then we thought, why don't we just tie all those restaurants together into a single interface? And that became our network website. So now, companies like Chowcaddy, they're out in Los Angeles. They have their website, chowcaddy.com. They have, 50 or so restaurants on there, and they're able to push all of their marketing towards that central site. And then they still have the individual websites that are already created for them so that they can actually capture the interest of users searching for those restaurants directly. So we really give them this 2-prong approach.
Oh, cool. So now as far as delivery, I guess, how does that work as far as the logistics? Are you going about, I guess, hiring individual drivers, or how are you coordinating that process?
We actually don't do delivery ourselves. It's kind of a whole other business that we really haven't tackled. But what we do is we either restaurants will do their own delivery, or we'll actually integrate with a couple of the delivery services here in Philadelphia, most notably Sparrow Cycling and Habitat. So we will actually automatically send orders from their Ontray site to their third-party delivery provider so that the whole process just works.
Oh, that's awesome. So they'll have the customer's address, they'll have the order, they just kind of walk in the restaurant and they're like, hey, I'm here to pick up for blah, blah, blah. And this is all automated. That's a great system.
Yeah. So, and that's, again, what allows us to keep our fees really low is, this whole system is automated. I can kind of sit on my couch and watch the orders come in and intervene wherever necessary. But generally, it's all good to go on its own. And
I guess now what's one issue that you may have ran into, I don't know, maybe in the beginning or now, whether it comes down to servers. I know there's a lot of things going on in the background.
Like I said, I'm a developer by trade. So all of those issues I've just been kind of able to deal with as they come up. I'm honestly a lot better at developing than I am at, say, marketing. So now that we're actually growing the team a little bit, we're raising some money right now. We're actually going to be hiring another developer to help, expedite some of the feature development, as well as, take that next step with our marketing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're in 5 countries. You're in how many cities in the U.S. now?
To be honest, I don't remember off the top of my head.
That's a good problem.
Yeah, probably around a dozen or so. I mean, it depends on how you consider suburbs versus major cities, things like that.
And I guess essentially, you're not necessarily traveling to all these countries or all these cities. You're able to reach out electronically to different businesses and kind of bring them on board. Or how's that been going so far? As far as, like you say, you're not necessarily the marketing person, but how are you actually reaching out to restaurants?
So we do have some sales staff here in Philadelphia that'll actually go and knock on doors. That works well for Philadelphia because we are a local company and the pitch is pretty strong. But obviously it doesn't scale to other cities, at least not really easily. So where we've been able to find a lot of our success is actually through software partners. One of our core pieces to our business is that we want our ecosystem to be very open to all the different software providers that are out there so that, just like with delivery services, you can integrate with really whatever tools you need to run your business. We're aggressively building out our app marketplace right now to include things like, sending orders right to your Square point of sale system or right to your delivery management system. We've had a lot of, and actually how we've been able to expand internationally so quickly is that we've had software providers that don't do what we do and we don't do what they do, but together we're a perfect fit for, say, delivery providers. So they've actually been able to send us a lot of business. And
when it comes to credit card processing, you kind of let the restaurant, I guess they could pick and choose from whatever processor they want, and then you'll just kind of plug it in to their interface?
That's the way we're headed, but for now, it's often not worth it for especially a smaller restaurant to really go through that process. So we do provide credit card processing, and basically they will get all of their revenue less whatever Ontray fees there are on a two-day rolling basis right to their bank account.
Oh, so you're actually processing it yourself.
Well, we don't do it in-house, but we do facilitate everything.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, because I know we currently use, I think, Stripe, and then we also have Square. I know there's a lot of different companies out there, but I think logistically that makes sense because a lot of restaurant owners don't really know how to kind of even jump into that space. You know, it's sort of like this blind spot, especially, I mean, luckily as a chef, I've been more well-versed than I think some of my peers. But I think as an operator, just thinking like, okay, how do I even start this? Mm-hmm. And you're kind of there to just walk them through the whole process.
Yeah, and they can actually do everything on their own. So if you go to our website, ontrayapp.com, a restaurant owner can go and sign up and literally within maybe 10 minutes can have their website published and be ready to accept online orders.
That's great.
They can upload their menu, they can change their delivery zones, whatever they need to do. It's all self-service. Now,
do you also allow any sort of multimedia like pictures and things like that, like videos within the menu ordering?
Yeah, we definitely do pictures. They can customize their homepage. Where we're really trying to position ourselves in the long run is we want to be to GrubHub like Shopify is to Amazon. So we want to provide them with the ability to kind of customize everything under their own brand name, but still provide the core function that an Amazon would. So with that, I think we need to really make sure on that promise, we need to push ourselves to be more like a Square or more like a Wix. And that's an area that we're definitely working on. And I think the new developers we bring on are going to make that even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we use Wix and Square, and I think they definitely do a good job as far as building out a website and not being a web developer or a coder. They give you all the tools necessary, and I think that's a great avenue to kind of delve into. Now, outside of restaurants, have you thought of applying this to any other industries?
Yeah, retail is the big one. What we're trying to avoid is competing on just the e-commerce space because there are such behemoths out there like Amazon and Shopify and Wix. We're not at the scale where we can really compete head-to-head with them. So what we're doing is really trying to find this niche in restaurants, kind of use that as a way to get into a bunch of restaurants and then expand our offering to make us more valuable throughout the process. So in the coming years, we're going to be introducing things like our own point of sale system, our own ticket management system, and the ability to pull in orders from different software providers like GrubHub into one centralized platform. And that kind of goes back to your root issue before of, you had 5 tablets sitting out on the counter, which is not a problem you alone are facing.
No, that sounds like the perfect solution for so many restaurants. I think that's the hardest thing is no one communicates with each other, none of the ticket machines. And at one point, within those 5 tablets, we were printing out some orders from the printer, some from the counter, and each slip is coming out different, whether it's bolding and highlighting. And as you know, in the industry, you really want things to be consistent, especially if you're in a really fast-paced setting, like, let's say a pizza restaurant with 20, 30 orders. If 5 orders are one way, 5 are another, and 10's are different. It's a nightmare for a cook, being in that shoe as well. I think that's great. So that sounds like, you guys are ready to sort of like really shake up the ground. Any future plans? I guess besides you just said you're launching in Australia today. What do you think your end goal is for the end of the year?
The end goal is definitely to scale up our team. We really just want to, right now I think there's 3 of us on the team, which is not a lot of people when you consider the number of businesses we're working with.
Well, 3 of you guys are doing a hell of a good job.
No, I appreciate that. So yeah, at the end of the year, we want to have another developer on board, and we want to step up our marketing efforts, tenfold. And then we're going to be raising a good amount of money at the beginning of next year that should allow us to take that second step to really ramp things up even more. So right now, it's really all about growth.
That's great. And if you don't mind me asking, I guess, are you doing reaching out to private investors, or is this more of a hedge fund or anything in particular, or are you just kind of like, we want X amount and we just don't care where it comes from?
So the situation you're describing is dumb money, is, kind of the term for people that just write a check without really providing much value. We are in the position where we ideally would like to bring in somebody that knows the industry and that can help us navigate, the paths ahead. There's a lot of things, I'm a first-time entrepreneur. At least this is the biggest company I've grown so far. So I know that when we hit bigger targets in the coming years, I'm going to need a lot of help and a lot of advice. So if we could get a venture capitalist on board that's been there, done that, I think we're going to push that as hard as we can.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so any final notes, any tips you have for, I guess anyone right now dealing with GrubHub, I guess you would say, let's try on Ontray, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I think our ideal customers are the ones that, have a strong brand. People are searching for them directly and they are tired of paying high fees. We can definitely work with really any restaurant just to see if we'd be a good fit. I will admit I've had to turn restaurants down before just because of whatever reason. It just wasn't a good fit for us. So we're really all about finding the best fit rather than just selling as many of these things as we can. And that kind of goes back to our core mission of we don't make money until they do. So if it doesn't make sense for either of us, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a good concept of just not, like you said, you don't want to just be charging someone and it's like, this isn't even working for them. So I guess essentially if anyone wants to find you, ontrayapp.com, they could kind of reach out. And like you said, it takes about 10 minutes and they could sign up themselves and it's pretty automated. And as far as, I guess, if someone wanted to reach out, they had any questions, they should just visit your contact page.
Yeah, at ontrayapp.com, ontrayapp.com. Yeah, there's a contact page on there. I think there's probably 5 different ways you can get in touch with us right there on the homepage. And then, any social media, we'll respond to everything as quickly as we can.
So thanks for joining us, Tyler. I think this is a great app. I'm looking forward to see what you guys are going to do in the future. For everyone listening, definitely check out ontrayapp.com. It's a great alternative. 5% commission is that's the goal for everyone. I think 30% is kind of ridiculous, which is what restaurants have been dubbed with for the past few years.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you having me, Chris, and thanks a lot.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Martin, the production consultant for The Grit Live. If you enjoy our programming, the most important thing you can do to support us is share each episode with your friends and family. You can also leave us a rating and a review on the podcast player of your choice to help others find us. Thank you for listening.